Hello and welcome to Heather and Hops. My name is Kat or Catherine and I'm a knitter based in Hertfordshire in the United Kingdom. This is my little space where I document my knitting and fibre journey and have the main goal to cultivate a level of community and connection, something that is very important to me, and also try and learn from one another and think about things in a intentional manner. So I hope this finds you well. If you're new, it's really nice to welcome you. If you've been here a while, it's lovely to see you again. I hope that the weirdness of the world is not getting too much. We were very lucky to get away this weekend just gone. We were going for Alex's happy birthday and we were meant to be seeing both one of Alex's favourite singers and one of my favourite bands. And sadly both shows were cancelled. It's fine, we're not, but we were really quite excited and it was a trip we'd planned pretty well for us. Like, we had set intentions, we actually stayed in a hotel rather than the most affordable sort of Airbnb we could stay in, to really try and make it a proper holiday. But in the end we had a lovely time and I'll talk a bit more about that after we've talked about the knitting. But yeah, I spent some time this morning, as in 45 minutes, ripping back an item that I'm working on that I still can't show you yet, but I'm very excited about it. And I'm also working on another project that's not knitting related, that's quite exciting to me, D&D related, but until the item's been photographed and sent away and received, I don't want to share it here because I really want it to be a surprise. So yeah, whew. Today I am wearing, this is the Cherry by Midori Hirose. It's been slightly modified. I really love the sleeves on this. I think I increased about a third of the stitches, a third from where I was finished knitting, and then did just an I-cord bind off, but I didn't do the gathered bind off that Midori recommends. And I'm also wearing a My Secret little crop, which I wear basically all the time. Both of them were knitted in drops. Yes, this was a kid silk alpaca that alpaca silk? I can't remember how to say it, my brain goes in circles. That I overdyed. It was quite a coral red, and there is a little bit of hand spun in here, but it's such low contrast that you won't be able to see the colour work, but I still love it. And my little crop is knit using Drops Nepal in the black colourway. I love these items. This is something that I knitted as a kind of a house item. I have worn it out, it's fine out of the house, but I just wanted a sort of a sweatshirt style but not garment, and it's doing the trick. And I also have a cup of Darjeeling that doesn't have milk in it, that I brewed very lightly, just because I like to have a hot drink, and it's still early enough to have a tea, and I only had one cup of tea this morning, which if you've been here a while you'll know that the 2 T's in my name kind of makes sense because I like to have 2 teas in the morning. But yeah, I hope you have something to keep you company, whether it's a knitting project, a beverage of sorts, and let's get chatting. I will share this one first because this is a finished object, and I'll try and put in a bit of footage of all of these things if I can, even if I have to film it now. This one is covered in hair and there's a few ends to be woven in that I spotted that I hadn't previously done, and here she is. So this is a very interesting looking item. This is the Pure Mesh Pullover by James N. Watts, which is a test knit, so it will be out fairly soon. And this is, well, I really enjoyed knitting this. It's probably impractical for many people, but equally other people's this is going to be a welcome staple to a wardrobe. This, for me personally, where my temperature fluctuates and drops frequently, this is amazing. I knitted this using woolly knit British 100% wool British cone in the colour black. The 500 gram cone has 2,350 meters. This was just a 125 gram cone. I don't think I used very much at all. I think about 50 grams, which is amazing for a long sleeve top. Obviously, it is mesh, so it was going to, and I used 8 little needles for this, so it was a fairly quick knit. The construction is bottom up, and you work the front and the back separately and then join them with a 3 needle bind off. You then pick up for the sleeves and then knit them top down flat, and then you seam it under the arm and along the body all in one go. Now, oh, and then you pick up for the hem. I think you could easily add something at the bottom, but I actually really like how this tucks into my jeans, and I imagine skirts and things too. And yeah, so I like I said, I really enjoyed knitting it. It knitted up pretty dang quickly, alongside multiple other projects I've been working on, and already I wore it to try it when we were in Scotland, and we wanted to pack very lightly, and this was something that I thought, I'm going to give it a go, I'm going to risk it. And I put it in my bag and wore it under layers, including another one that I've got here to show you, and it really did the trick. We went for a walk up quite, not a huge hill, but a hill, and the breeze was pretty brutal, but this, underneath all my layers, kept me from from that kind of situation. If I was to knit it again, the only modification I would make is I would shorten the length of the sleeves. I don't have the world's longest arms anyway, but I quite like things to be sort of bracelet length. Sometimes I do like a longer sleeve, as you can see here, but even then, as soon as I move, it sits right on the line, it doesn't go. And this is a bit long for me, and the pattern has written one sleeve length for all. There's the only other thing that I would change. I could also consider knitting the one size smaller for the sleeves. I feel like for me it would fit better. I like the amount of ease that I got on the body. I knitted the second size and got gauge. So if I'd have gone second size for the body and the first size for arms, I think this would be like the ultimate. Hello, Audrey. Hey, do you want to come up? Audrey's in house kitten. She's a sweetheart. She's in a really funny mood at the moment. She's very needy, but also very playful. I think she did secretly miss us quite a bit this weekend. And she's sat where you are. Hey, you. I get asked about this yarn quite a bit, and personally I was really surprised how soft this came out. I am not sensitive. I wear let low P next to skin, so you know, obviously each person's different, but I find this as soft as whole super soft, I would say. It's really quite, I had no issue wearing it next to skin. I would love to knit a silk version or something in a summer yarn, so that I can have one of these for the summer too. Most likely in black, maybe in something else, but most likely in black or a dark grey. And I do have a bit of dark grey in my wool pantry, so I might consider doing that. It is designed for, I think it's Felix by La Bien-Aimée. I've never used that base, but it's sort of a silk base, and that does make sense for this project. I really love it. I think it's really good. It will be fun for, I imagine, layering it with t-shirts over the top, with vest tops underneath, and just as almost a thermal layer too. It really did seem to work, even though there's really not much fabric in it. It's very lightweight, so for someone that travels maybe and needs something warm, this is quite a good alternative than a dense thing. So hopefully it'll be released very soon. I used bamboo large needles because that's just what I have in the larger sizes. I find that with larger needles I want something with a little bit of tactileness. I want them to be warm in material, so the bamboo's better for me, but it obviously does behave very differently to knitting with metal. I think that's it on this. Really happy with it. I love it. James writes very clear patterns, and I don't mind purling, so I had a good time with this one. And the only other, I say that like I'm surprised, to be honest, that I have any finished objects. I've really got some knitting I got to get done, and sadly that went wrong because the garment that I need to really work on, I left my cable needle at home, so I couldn't work on it. So this is why this got finished. And then I was a bit lost. I didn't have any other knitting with me. So I've recently finished and knitted this that looks a bit funky. It's like a collar, a bib. Fold it over once, twice. I just do it once. So I recently knit this using Whistlebear Cheviot Marsh DK. This is a slightly one-of-a-kind batch of the Hedgeberry colourway, which is a gorgeous colour, and I just wanted something that was practical, that would be lightweight, hug in tightly, and make some of my coats more practical. And I didn't realise how good it would be. It's quite a simple piece, as you can see. It's not much to it. There's a front and a back and some shoulders and a lovely little snuggly. And this one's really lofty and warm, but I thought that, well, I just knitted it for me basically, and I really enjoyed it. I've worn it loads, and I've had quite a few people asking about if it would be something that I would do, and I've done my dangest, and I wanted to double check and tweak it a little bit because I don't mind purling at all. I just knit this as I went. I knew what my gauge would be. I wrote down my notes and off I went, and didn't really think about how I could do the less amount of purling necessary because I don't really mind it. But what I did is I went to my notes, reread them, and clarified things, wrote it in not just I guess knitting shorthand, is that a thing? But it was, you know, like the whole pattern was like this for my notes. And I thought about what other yarns I could use, and I remembered I had some Plutalope from Ice Tex, which is an unspun yarn, in the black heather colourway from my top cardigan. And I thought, that's really lightweight, it's almost black, and if I layer it with my top cardigan, it's gonna be, well, it will be one of the warmest sets of items I've got. So combine it with this like I did this weekend. I was snug as a bug in a tiny little coat that in theory shouldn't keep me warm, but just because it blocked the wind, everything else kept me warm, which meant, again, travelling quite light. So here it is. I digress. So this is the second version of my Cowley Bib thing, which I had a name for, but I feel like names that people can't pronounce put people off. So and I feel like it would have been one of those phrases, so I would love some help deciding on what we should call this. But it has a front and back, and it has buttons so that you can clip it to your side or leave it loose. So if you need something airy, you've got the air. If you want something snug, you can. So layering it under, so I've got a linen wrap dress and I've layered this under it, and it stayed where it was meant to rather than doing that. And hello, could you not scratch stuff while we're trying to have a little conversation? Do you want to come and sit up here? What's this? Audrey, come on. Look at that one. Come on. Yeah, that's good, isn't it? She's very sweet. And also this, the length that I've knit it for me, and I think it'd be very easy to adjust because it's very simple. It means that I can wear it folded once in half for a really high neck, or in twice so that it's a slightly lower neck but a thicker covering. Yeah, I've really enjoyed knitting it for the second time. I did make it easier for less purling, the way the patterns worked, which I was very proud of, because I want things to be fun if, you know, people are going to take the time to knit these things. This did come out lighter weight, even though the Plutalope is listed as an Aran weight. It's definitely finer, and the Chivia Marsh that little Mai's sat on now has quite a bit more loftiness to it. But yeah, I was really happy with this. I'm going to definitely get a lot of wear out of this. Maybe I should lower the camera a little bit so you can see Audrey, but my head might get cut off a bit, but we like Audrey. We like you too much. It's not that practical for me, comfortable wise, but it's worth it, isn't it? So yeah, I think it does, I think it will bite into 2 skeins of DK, can't remember. Yeah, I think it is, or it uses, I want to say 400 meters, roughly. So if you wanted to hold 2 special skeins of fingering together, that could be cool too, as a way of using up those single skeins. But I'm really happy with this. I would even be inclined to hold Plutalope double, or with mohair to get a slightly larger size. I have tried to write this in 3 different sizes, and the idea being that there is a slight difference in everything, but also you could, I haven't noted this yet, but you could increase the size of the loops. So if you did a longer I-cord, looped it and looped it back on itself instead of the whole way back, you'd have a buttonhole that was slightly longer. So no matter how big your bust is or your under bust is, you could adjust accordingly. So you might actually want a tighter fitting neck, and then you could. So anyway, yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm excited that it's something that maybe be able to be shared, and it should be ready for testing next week, maybe the week after. Like I say, I've got quite a few things that I'm juggling at the moment, but this was really fun and a very unexpectedly practical item that I created. I've seen things like this before, obviously, but you know, when it comes out of your brain and it's how you imagined, it's very cool. There you are, a little blanket. There you go. I have to sit like this again. Wonder if I lift it up a bit. Let's give it a go. It didn't really help, did it? But she's here, so it's all good. And I think, wow, is that all we've got? The only other knit that I've got is a test knit that I'm working on, which, let's see if I can put these in so that they don't jangle around. So I have done the front, the back, joint in the round, and finished the body, and I'm almost finished the first sleeve. And this is such a fun pattern to knit, I've got to say. Simple, it's a simple rib all over, but as always, lovely Alison has, to me, really nice construction. It's always slightly interesting, requires a little bit more thought than just casting on a neck and increasing or raglan style. And the shape on the shoulder, beautiful, it utilises short rows. And so far, when I tried it on, the fit was really, really nice. I find that Alison's patterns have a surprising amount of consideration for shaping and construction. And so this is a test knit that's due to be finished, I think, the middle of February now. It's gone on a little bit longer. I'm hoping to actually finish this week. I would like to have my third and final test knit of the year complete so that I can focus on these things. For the one other thing that I've got there that I keep looking at that I really want to show you, but I really can't. But so I can focus on that, and then I can start playing with some other fun things. But not only that, I'm really excited to wear this again. It's all black, but it's going to be practical. I don't have, well, I've got tops, but I don't have hand knitted tops that are more tops than jumpers that are long sleeved. I do now have the pure mesh pullover, but you know, I think this is going to be a lovely layering piece and just a very nice thing to wear next to skin. So this is knitted using, where is it gone? I sat on it. Let's see if I've got another ball of it. It's in here. Yeah, I do. So this is using the alpaca boucle. I did say it very wrong. I didn't know that. I've definitely heard this before, but this is a drops item again, not something that I would usually use because there's 5% polyamide in it, but I really wanted to use as close to the recommended base as I could, and this was in my, you know, budget, so to speak. It's 80% alpaca, 15% wool and 5% polyamide. So just 5mm needles. I'm currently using 4.5, so that's pretty cool. And this is colour A903, also known as black. But it's a lot. I do think it's a lovely base in how it feels. I think it's going to be a really gentle next to skin item. Like I am going to wear this next to skin, and I don't think too many people would have an issue with it. And it would look really cute in, you know, as a baby garment with ears, but I don't need to be doing that. Yeah, this, it's feeling lighter weight than I thought it would do. I've not used quite as much yarn yet, as I anticipated. I did think I only needed 3 balls, but I got 4 just in case I wanted to make sure I had enough, but I think I will only use 3. Yeah, not lots. This was based on, or inspired by, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's why it's called Sunnydale High, I believe. And I have actually just started watching them, kind of very gently, watching 1 or 2 every now and then while I'm trying to focus on some knitting, and it's been quite fun to be knitting on a pattern inspired by what I'm watching. But yeah, I don't, like in previous times I wasn't that drawn to V-necks. This is slightly different. It's got like a whoop and then a V-neck. But I do think more and more I'm okay with a V-neck style. So I'm dabbling a little bit. I've noticed myself wearing my Nordiska quite a lot. Yeah, I think so far I would knit this again. I would be happy to knit this in a variety of other yarns, but I do think it has lent itself to this, and I was worried that you wouldn't be able to see that it's ribbed, but I'm looking at the in camera now and I think you can, so yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing other versions of this. I've only seen Alison's and 1 other so far, but I imagine it would be gorgeous in like a sapphire red or like an emerald. But obviously black was just, I'm working my way into having a few more staples before working in colour, which does lead me on to the next thing, kind of. Now I don't actually remember what yarn this is, and I will put on the screen the name of the pattern, but it's the Fluffer shirt. It's a Jessie May pattern, Bluffer Ripple, and lovely Jenny did a swap for my mermaid elf mail. Yay, she did. Not intentional, she wanted to swap, and then she's like, what about this? And I think it's really cool. It's really very short though, even on me who is also very short, and I have worn it a fair bit as a layer over my most worn black dress. It's just a little strappy black dress with a semi-high waist, but it's very loose fitting, and then it goes down just below my knees and has a few brown buttons, and it does work quite well with that. But what I thought is that I would pick up underneath the ripples, the little fluffer bits, and turn it into a dress. So I had a little look at yarns that I could use that would match or be subtly enough different, or different enough that would work, and I got to go and see Charlotte, who is the dyer behind Nervous Fibre, quite a bit while we were in Glasgow, which is really fun. But Charlotte had this gorgeous ember colour. So it is Superwash Merino, but I felt like this was likely that too, and the colour was just too good. However, now I'm looking at this, first of all, I think I would really enjoy doing either a very plain jumper or one with some colour work in it. And that's because when I thought about it, I would have to, and now I could do it underneath here, but it's not quite long enough that it would look right. I would have to do some sort of waist or tie that would ideally be lower, because the weight of this would be too much for this item. There's not enough structure in it to support it, that I don't think. Like, I wouldn't trust it. So this was going to be a really cool dress, but I do think I'm going to have to think about a jumper for this. And I do have a few jumper patterns in my library that I would like to knit, so I'm not too worried about it. But if you've got any other ideas, I'm all ears. I think this is probably more practical just as an item with that dress, and it really is only the one dress. I could wear it with some longer dresses, but I feel like I don't want sleeves under this really. I don't know, I'm funny about things. Yeah, so that was my idea, and I was quite excited to turn it into a dress, and then I feel a bit silly for not thinking ahead about the whole lack of structure in this to support the weight of, it might only be 100 grams. Like I might be able to do something clever and do like a lace panel, and then, but I think really this is just going to have to be a garment. But it's such a lovely colour. It was really nice chatting with Charlotte for millions of reasons, but it was fun to talk about Nervous Fibre in particular going forward, and what she's like working on and the way she's working. And I do think there's a lot to be said for semi-solids and tonal colours like this. I think for me personally they are, like even this, they're more fun to work with than a total solid, but a lot more practical and a bit less all shiny object than speckled yarn. For me personally, obviously everyone's different and I love seeing everyone in their speckles, but for me, I'm basically like black and grey, but moving towards trying to be fun while maintaining a wardrobe that will hopefully last me a lot longer than I've noticed a lot of my speckled items I've wanted to gift or pass forward. So yeah, it was just interesting to talk about that sort of thing and club plans. I'm not going to say anything, but very cool, and I want to knit with it immediately, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to ponder it and make sure I've got the right project. And oh, you're just so sweet, little Audrey. The only other woolly wool I have is the only purchase that we had while we were in Scotland, and I asked quite late on, the day before we went, for recommendations of places to visit. And we managed to do almost everything that was recommended, and one of them was to visit the Yarn Cake, which is a lovely little shop, and we did. And there was quite a few things there, but Alex in particular was drawn to this. I did wind because I was thinking I would cast it on, since I couldn't knit on the only other project I had with me, but he couldn't decide whether he wanted a hat or cowl. So this is Iona wool from the Isle of Iona, and this is a DK colour. I can't remember the name of the colour, blue teal. And this wool is absolutely delightful. It blooms beautifully and it softens up once it's been washed, but the colour will definitely suit Alex a lot. And this is the DK weight from this year's sort of batch. Last year's, and I managed to pick up a little card just because, well, for reasons, but the card actually gives you the breakdown of the fibre that's gone into it. See, I'm not sure that it is, I think this batch will be slightly different, but I couldn't believe how many different breeds there were in last year's batch. There's 60%, 66% Scotch Mule, 13% Texel, 1% Blueface Leicester, 1% Suffolk, 1% Charolais, 7% swap ball and 11% Hebridean. 7. It's quite a lot, 7 different breeds in one blend, but it's gorgeous. And I do think he wants either a cow or yet another hat. There's some part of me that's slightly reluctant to do a hat, but actually doesn't have a blue teal hat, so, and it would go with both, quite a few, like he's got lots of coats, but it'll go with a couple of his coats and most of his sort of checky shirts, so maybe I will just cast on a hat for him. But it is a gorgeous colour and quite very reasonably priced considering the size of the company. I think this was £12 for 100 grams, so not on the far end but not on the opposite far end, it's somewhere reasonably in the middle. What do you think? Yeah, really lovely yarn and I'm quite looking forward to knit it. I did sit and wind it into a ball while we were in a really lovely tea shop. Let's get that cookie. Wow. So I'm not really here to review things, I'm just opinions? I don't know, not even really that much of an opinion. But I did just finish this, The Frighteners by Peter Laws, and I've really enjoyed reading it. It was in the psychology section of the library, and just the it almost seems shiny. I think it is. Red and the black just drew me in. And he just sort of talks about activities he's done while commenting on why we are drawn to monsters, ghosts, death and gore. And a lot of the points he brings up are not necessarily profound, but the things that personally I've thought about, and he's been able to articulate them better, and using this as a catalyst to discuss them. Get off of that, you. Yeah, I found it really interesting, to be honest. It just makes you think. I don't want to really talk about the ideas he gives away particularly, but what does he discuss? How do we say it? There's things like he discusses why we maybe even enjoy role-playing games. I really love Dungeons and Dragons. We talked about this a lot this week, especially while we were away. And yeah, it's just good. If you're looking for, maybe if you're not into horror, I'm not particularly, I used to love horror films and that kind of thing, but I kind of went off it for a long time. And I do think it's interesting even if you're not interested in that. Sometimes some of the descriptions are a bit, oh, I didn't really want to read that before bed, but it's not like it's terrifying, it's just they're the moments that are based on truth and humans not being nice to each other, and that kind of upsets me. But that is the reality, and that's kind of what another part of what he mentions is that actually reading traditional fairy tales or seeing, you know, kind of realistic situations happening in a fantasy world allows us to safely react to these things. Same as watching a horror film, you're experiencing it but in a very safe environment rather than in the real world, so you're getting to learn to react kind of thing. So it was just very interesting, and yeah, if you've got an interest in psychology too, this is probably not the right book for you, but it's quite fun. And then finally, I got out this one too. I haven't started it yet, but I'm quite excited. It looks quite up my street, must read for fantasy fans, and it sounds quite interesting. But before I do, I'm thinking I might get, is it The American Gods instead by Neil Gaiman out, because I really enjoyed The Witch's Heart and Norse mythology, and having watched Thor, and although that's very different, I know that, I'm thinking I might like to dabble in that instead. She doesn't make this comfortable, you know. You just sit like this. You're a troublemaker. So one of the other things I did, because I've not had much knitting time, and because this is something that I thought about doing and I couldn't quite get the guts to do it, but I finally overdyed my clogs. So I think I've got a bit of footage from before when they were blue, and they're not the newest item, but I managed to pick up this dye Angelus leather finishes, and it comes with a bottle of dye, please don't spill, and a little woolen dabber, which I was going to make myself, but it actually came with one, and it's quite well organised that even the box, you press that in and it stands up the little bottle. But I saw this and I knew that I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. I've got a brown pair as well, and I might actually do it to them as well, just because I don't really love anything that isn't black for my shoes. In the summer I have a pair of white Birkenstocks that are, to be honest, not at their finest. The leather's starting to rip, but I've had them for 7 years, so they're doing well. But these were really ugly, and I wasn't wearing them, and I kind of missed it. So I've painted them black, and they're suddenly, the inside I've left, I just didn't see the point, to be honest. They're going to be on my feet. I didn't think it was worth painting the insides, but the outsides look great, and I thought finally I can show off my hand knit socks with my shoes, and when spring comes around it's going to be perfect. I just thought it was a really good idea if you've got shoes, and I know that I'm not like an upcycling channel or anything like that, but I do like to talk about things that mean that I get a lot more use out of items, and maybe spark other ideas and conversations. Maybe you know a better way of doing this. But I was really impressed with the outcome. I think it was £8, and I've now got a pair of clogs that will continue to last 10 times longer than they previously were, because they were just sat by the door not being worn. And I do think I'm gonna do my brown ones this week, and maybe I'll film just how I did it, but it really was just a case of masking off the edges and then dabbing and lifting up the different layers of the leather or suede, and I used one fine brush just to get into where the staples are. Other than that, I think it was maybe a 15-20 minute project. That has meant that first of all I have some slightly more, just a bit dressy shoes, but obviously they can be really dressed down or not, and I can feel a little bit more sassy, which is sometimes nice. But yeah, I thought it was a great little project for something so quick, and it's going to make these, like I say, just last that much longer. So if you needed a little bit of inspiration on saving some of your shoes, very good way of doing so. Right. She's just pressed up against me like, oh, I know, it's good to have you home. You're so sweet. Right. Like I said, we went to Glasgow for the weekend. We went fairly early on Friday and got back Sunday night. We managed to fit in quite a lot of things. When we arrived, we went to Perch and Rest, which is a lovely coffee shop if you are in the West End, is it? Well, it's a lovely coffee shop, so if you need coffee and sandwich, we had a sandwich for breakfast that was really nice. That was really good. And then where did we go? We went to the Hunterian gallery. That was really good. There was actually more art there that I really loved than when we went to the you dragging the focus away. Went to the Museum of Modern Art. It's interesting, but it just doesn't speak to me in the same way. There was a couple of particularly beautiful places in the Hunterian that both Alex and I were just beautiful. I will put some footage of them in at the end. And then we went to Tchai-Ovna, I think it is. It's a tea shop. That was a really nice little tea room that has sort of vegan, vegetarian food, and there's a lot of on the floor kind of seating, and every section in it's sort of partitioned and just feels very peaceful. Really? You're not very peaceful. I know people don't mind, but you're very loud today. I could have sat there, well, we both could have sat there forever. We also went to the Botanic Gardens. Beautiful. The glass houses are just breathtaking. I've always quite... What are you doing? That's not very friendly. What are you doing? Beautiful, well worth a visit. I couldn't believe that how much of the places to visit, like the Hunterian, the Museum of Modern Art, the Kelvingrove Art Gallery, Botanic Gardens, were all free. I know that they were all free. I know that there's quite a few in London that are free also, but it just seemed like a lot of... I'm gonna lift the camera up because this is weird. It's just too weird. Like, she's gonna get up shortly. I can sense it. Yeah, and I think Charlotte said that a lot of the art's free to see because some rather wealthy people gifted almost the art to the city on the basis that it would always be free to visit. So it's very cool to see it. And the art was from, you know, unbelievably a long time ago all the way through to modern in all the places we went to. And we managed to get to the cathedral with 10 minutes to see it, but that was actually, we could have spent a lot longer in there, but 10 minutes was enough to get an idea and, you know, do a flying visit before we went into the Necropolis, which is so worth seeing if you're there. It was quite a good reminder to live, and to live how you want to live and live while you can, kind of thing, which is also discussed in the Frighteners book. It's kind of strange how little we talk about death because it is kind of a taboo subject, but isn't it a shame your family or friends don't know what you want, for example, or what they want. Like, you want to give people the best you can, and you can become less scared of it if you know that where you're going is going to be good. Like, some of the graves and the places had family that had been put there together for sort of 200 years or longer, which is just amazing, I think. I don't know, but it was beautiful, and if you're ever in the area, I do recommend going there. We also went to Reigate, we went to a couple of other pubs and things, so we went to there, which had a really lovely stout on. We went to Innocent Gun, which had some really lovely fried pickles, very, very good fried pickles, and some really lovely beer again. Obviously, between, quite like our beer, and it has to be good quality if we're going to drink it, so that was really nice. And we also we went to Mother India, but not the Mother India where Anthony Bourdain loved. We went to Mother India's cafe, but the food there was amazing. It really was. I'd go there again right now if it was close by and I could afford to eat like that every day. It was really lovely food, and the company was very good too. What else did we do? We went to Spitfire Cafe, which was a nice coffee, but the best coffee probably was in paper cups, and also a really good breakfast. I had Thai curried eggs, which was strange because it was also served with mango chutney and paratha, but delicious. To have eggs and potatoes for breakfast, I will never say no, along with a side of basically bread. Delicious. Alex had Eggos and avocado on toast, and the bread was lush, to be honest. And yeah, it was just really nice trip. I feel very grateful, and did yesterday have a sense of not the post getaway blues, but like there was a real rise in dopamine levels over the weekend, like seeing so many amazing things that you don't often get to see in real life, and then to be kind of very unstimulated in, I love our home, but alone and unstimulated, it did feel very weird. So I'm hoping that editing today, getting to see it again, it's going to give me just a little boost so that I can wean myself off of that feeling. Yeah, I would 100% live in Glasgow if the opportunity arose. I think it was really good. Alex and I always say it just feels a bit like home, and it does. 10 out of 10 want to go back to Glasgow, 10 out of 10 feel home when I'm up there. There is areas that are like, they could be anywhere. You've got the same old shops, and I think that kind of bums me out a bit, to be honest, but there was so much beautiful architecture, and it felt quite spacious, and there was not any traffic. And I know that's not going to be true of all the time, but hot dang, compared to where we are, and we're quite out of London, it was quite amazing. We were like, what? How? So yeah, anyway, I am playing 2 rounds of D&D, 2 sessions of D&D this weekend, which is very exciting. I do have to finish writing up the one shot that I'm running for some of us knitters, which is really scary in a way, but also really quite exciting. But I'm very much excited to play my character Sophia on Sunday with my knitting pals, and yeah, my character's starting to come out of her shell a bit now. She actually feels a bit more comfortable in the group she's got, even though there's still some secrets going down, but hey, it's not fun, and till you've role played that out in real life. Alex is playing with us on Saturday, which is really fun. He has been painting a mini that he picked up while we were in Glasgow. We did manage to get to a game shop kind of by accident. We saw it on the way when we were walking to see some of the Billy Connolly art. Really nice to see that. Because we recently listened to his book Windswept and Interesting when we were going up to visit Alex's family in Newcastle, and on the way home. Now you've sat still and been quiet. You terror. She's settled right in now. Yeah. So I hope whatever you've been up to has brought you some joy. I hope that this week you do find some joy. Please take care of yourselves. Don't forget to love each other, and I really do hope to see you again very soon. Take care. Brownie that no one wanted.
Yeah.
What?
I love that heaving it up, yeah.
Don't forget the gorgeous fairy lights.
Oh, you've just turned them on. You happy?
It is your happiest birthday. Is that true?
see your shadow, honey.
Go and see some ghosts. Come on then.